Wow, we're live. Jed Gillespie, before we start, I just got to say that I'm a little bit under the pump today, so I want to get this podcast out today. So can I please request no sexism, no racism, none of your usual over-the-top political remarks, and whatever we say today cannot be edited because I don't have time today, Jed Gillespie.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Well, I'll
drug propaganda.
I'll try and keep that all to a minimum. There's plenty.
You're a big supporter of what's going on in the Ukraine and Russia at the moment.
Oh dear me!
But what is actually going on there? I briefly read about Boris's comment this morning. Obviously, you're a big Boris fan. What's actually going on there?
Oh man, I'll do this in 15 seconds because there's so much footy to talk about. But Russia have, there was a long ongoing thing with Crimea, like a sliver of land there that sort of part of the Ukraine. Russia are effectively moving people in and taking it back. And America have said that they won't do anything, which is a particularly poor thing to say. So yeah, we're just waiting for a war, which is bad.
Good thing we're in beautiful Australia, which is a long way away. You know, all is well.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go. Let's start talking.
All right. Well, there were some games on the weekend. First and foremost, the Drua beat Melbourne on Thursday in a game that was somewhat swept under the rug. From all reports on my end, it was sort of the Rebels had a fair few players out. They played their sort of what they had for 30 and then sort of had a lot of their academy ADS sort of characters on for the last half. But if anything, it shows that the Drua are going to be better than Pacifica, I think.
I'm going to watch that game. I've actually got to watch that game this afternoon.
Yeah.
I've spoken to a few people during the week about trial matches, and the common theme is that trial matches don't matter. And the people that tend to say that trial matches don't matter are from teams that usually win games. So I actually think for the Drua and for the Waratahs at the moment, I'm sure we'll talk about the Waratahs. I think any time that your team can win a game of rugby is a good thing because, as you know, you've been in many successful teams, and it's almost harder to lose once you start winning because winning is definitely a habit. And whilst winning a trial game really means nothing at the end of the day, starting to build those winning habits really does matter. Considering the Waratahs didn't win a game last year, I think even in trials, and the Drua are a brand new team, so they're creating a new culture, and to start that off with a win can only be a good thing.
Yeah, I agree. For me, it just shows me that they're going to be better than Moana Pacifica are in comparison to New Zealand. I mean, those guys got 60, 70 put on them. Drua showed up and played some reasonable football. They're a wild card team.
Have you watched the game?
I've watched portions of the game without watching it in detail. But look, I can say that the Rebels did have a full change at halftime. Yeah. But yeah, what you said is true. It's look, trials don't matter if you sort of know, if you know where you're heading. If you if your team's good enough where like you can play 10 guys and not play the other 20, and then put it all together for round one. If you're in a situation like the Tars, and now we can go to the Tars game, where they hadn't won a game in 15 months, or I don't know, a year, let's just say a season. Winning 2 games was important for their morale. It was good for their morale. It's important for the program going into a competitive season. So take it away. What are your thoughts on that game?
Mate, I watched, when did I text you? Probably 50 minutes. And I was impressed with the Tars. I thought the Reds looked tired, and there was a noticeable difference when they brought Taniela, Hunter Paisami, Angus Scott Young on. So you can read into that what you will. But the Tars looked fitter than they did earlier in the year. I remember watching the trial game versus Melbourne. They looked significantly fitter. And you know, if you had asked me would the Tars win a game after that Melbourne trial, I would have said not a chance. I think they'll win a few games this year after watching that game.
I agree.
I think their starting team's going to be very solid.
Yeah.
I think they have a couple of injuries. That's where they might potentially come unstuck. I thought our old mate Jed played very well. He's become a bit of an older statesman, considering he's only 29. But he's become a bit of a.
He fucking looks old, but he looks old.
Well, he's looked old forever, but he's become almost a bit of a hard man. I've got all these March flies all over me. You should see where I am. Absolutely, there are animals attacking me left, right, and centre. But yeah, no, mate, I enjoyed it. I thought they're scrummaging well. I think the number 8 ruined a couple of pushover tries. So if I was the Tars, I'd be making him get on the scrum machine and doing some juggling for the next couple of weeks. Because if he does that again, I would drop him and never pick him again. Mate, good.
Yeah,
good
no. I saw what you were talking about. They showed. Look, the Reds did an interesting thing. They had 1 or 2 plays out, but they played their sort of good back line with their number 2 front row, and again, it started them on -3 penalties or whatever it was, and started them on negative.
But when you say good back line, Hunter was missing, Jordan Pateo was missing.
Yeah.
You know, guys who will jump in and immediately make a difference. Sort of their main guys. I know what you mean.
Yeah, look, they spread their talent. They spread their talent. Whereas the Tars didn't spread their talent. But the difference between like you said, when Tupou was off the field versus when Tupou was on the field was fucking enormous. Like immediate scrum penalties, immediate line breaks, all sorts of things. What the Waratahs did show, I thought, was that they can fucking defend. They can defend, and that they have some ticker. So that comes from Old Man Holloway. Comes from those guys getting a little bit older. Like you said, the inside male, their starting team will be a good team of footballers. Where it will fall apart is injury 2, injury 3, injury 4, and touch wood. Like, this is just rugby. I've got that many fucking screws in me. It happens. People get injured. But when that happens, is when they'll fall apart. But
what did you think of obviously in Roma? So it's a great thing to get the game out to the country areas. But there was a blackout just before kickoff.
Right, so there was a blackout.
So they played the game. Blackout
before kickoff, so which worked great for me. I was out to dinner. I got home at 11 o'clock. The game was still halfway through. I thought it was a dream. I thought I was dreaming. They were also playing on a field that was put together by some sort of squadron of 2-year-olds. There was gigantic holes that were filled in with like people's front lawn. They'd just cut a square meter out each. Absolutely bizarre. I don't know if they generated some like revenue and like interest in Roma, I think that's awesome. It looks scary to play on that field. It reminded me of some of the foreshore rugby parks that have been put up over the years. Deadly.
I was about to say it looked like the Eastwood Greenskeepers been out there.
But, mate, you could bloody eat your dinner on TG Milner. Wait, just before I finish, will we finish ranting? Big difference for the Tars, I think. 2 things is hooker and fullback. And I've crapped on about this for 2 years. We discussed hooking on the weekend.
Yeah.
Who's going to... Do you want me to say it? Do you want to say
it? It's a very important position. I think if they have 1 injury, 2 injuries, it'll be very, very... I would say very interesting when I actually mean it's probably going to be very bad.
Yeah.
You know, I let's say this as nicely as possible. There was a noticeable difference when they swapped the teams. And I think a large part of that was to do with the world-class prop/player that was playing for the Reds. But I also think that it had a bit to do with the replacements that came on. Is that a fair?
Yeah. I mean, there's a bit of a chasm between the Tars top and the Tars middle at the moment. But for me, Parecki has to start at hooker. I'm going to fucking peel the curtain back on all our tiptoeing. Like a core component, man. like Tom Horton's a fucking good. He'd be a good 7. Like he's a good hooker in that he's pilfering, he's hitting rucks, but you're starting the game on -3 line-out throws. That's what the game is, man, and that's what it was, and it was in the trial before, and it wasn't the trial before that. So, like, you have to be at least like, you can have -1, but if it's missing by 2 meters, then you got a problem. So hooker's a big one. I'd have to think Parecki starts. He's a bigger body, but more importantly, he seems like the more stable line-out thrower.
Who plays fullback?
All right, so here's the other thing. When I went into the Tars, they were looking at like anyone from Tavita Funa, who was his first year in rugby, who I actually think's had been better than what I thought he'd be, to like Will Harrison, to Mark Noah Tawazi, to I'll just call him Mark normally. We're friends. Like, they were looking at everyone.
Can I put something to you? A left field suggestion. He's a big fan of the show. And I'm not saying this because he is a big fan of the show. But what about Tane?
I think he could do it. I honestly don't think that he's had a rep back there.
But just look at him, looking at him when he came on the field. I'm like, that's the first time I've really ever paid attention. And I think, fuck, he's got something about him.
Yeah, look, it's interesting. It's completely biased from me, but I think Tane's trialled well last two trials.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Like, and you messaged me on the weekend. Well, like, fuck, he's doing some things here.
He sped the game up. I thought.
Yeah, he's very attacking. He's very front foot. I think it looks like, I don't know what's happened to Will Harrison, whether he's injured, because from what I heard, they were pushing him back to 15. It looks like it'll be Nobby. And the funny thing is, Nobby is sort of the utility man now, but he tried well at 15 against the low level talent, lower level teams. And then he tried well on the weekend. So I'm picking him ahead of Ram. I'm picking him ahead of Mark. I'm picking him at 15. But he's not a pure out and out 15. So I wonder if that'll show sort of 5-6 rounds deep.
I reckon, I'm just going to go crazy here. I reckon Ryan Smith should play fullback. Big, destructive guy at the back. No, you're going to have to run around him. You're not going to run through him.
Yeah. No, he could be good. He'll be good defensively. He's laterally very good. We know that.
Good chat as well.
Yeah, good guy.
Great fella.
I'm actually moving, and the Tars will be happy to hear this, but I'm moving the Tars up in my power rankings.
I agree.
Based on my weekend, based on a couple of things, but I'm moving the Rebels down. Unfortunately, with every action comes a reaction. So I'm moving the Tars up. They're going to trouble some teams. I
agree. I completely agree. After watching them on the first half on the weekend, if they manage to have a good run with injuries, I reckon that they'll go in the Australian side of things, 3rd or 4th. Yeah. I don't think they beat the Brumbies or the Reds with full strength teams, but I reckon they'll go. A full strength team will be very competitive.
Yeah, I think they'll be very, very competitive out of pure toughness. I don't also, just while we're here, I don't think Jamie Roberts plays. If he does, I don't think he plays for long.
Is that just looking in crystal ball? What do you think?
Bro, did you watch him on the field?
Yeah, 1 carry and then went off with a concussion.
Look, he looked a little bit odd. He looked so smart because I watched him, what he did, where he went. The things he did were crazy. Like, he was very good. He was splitting, he was moving in deep, he was chatting. But like, you've got Lalakai sort of coming into his own at this age. Like, fuck, Lalakai's been on a bloody adventure, and Parisi, like, what? I don't think there's room for him.
I don't know, man. When he comes on late. He's good. I think you got to have him in the team. Maybe he's an impact player off the bench to spark the game up at the back end, and maybe attack some of the tired defenders that you'll get towards the back end of the game. This is gonna be a crazy podcast. I got 10% battery on my iPad left.
Oh fuck. Okay. Well,
hold on. Let's keep talking. What I'll do. We're a rough and ready kind of show anyway. Is I'll try and find a suitable location so I can plug my thing in at the same time.
Well, I'm happy to go on a diet. I mean, a monologue, Chubby. If you just want to mute yourself,
I wouldn't actually mind that. Listening to you ranting.
Yeah. Well. So I'm changing my power rankings. I still think, most likely, based not on trial form at all, I still think the Reds are going to come out as probably the best team in the comp. I think the Brumbies will be second. I think the Force are going to be a pain in the ass around 3.
You watched their trial game versus the Reds? I haven't actually watched that one yet.
Yes, they were very good. And your friend Bailey Kunzel was fucking phenomenal.
He's a beast. Young BK,
but he played completely different to anything I've ever seen.
Yeah, he's a 12. Oh, sorry, he's playing 12 for them apparently, and I think that probably suits him a bit more than playing.
Mate, he was catching the ball at fullback and running it back like it was the first hit up of a state of origin. It was incredible.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, got you. He was incredible. Reason Pasatoa, I think I said this last week, but he's looking trim. He looked very good at 10. They're gonna be good. So I think they sit around 3 and 4. And I think for me at the moment, until the Rebels get some guys back, with sort of what they've got starting, I think they sit at 5, unfortunately.
I would like to see their full strength team before we make those outrageous accusations. But
that's why they're called power rankings, mate. They can change. They change week to week. People get more powerful, less powerful. But at the moment, based on what I've heard coming out of Melbourne, they're not very powerful.
Can I tell you my favourite team to watch in World Rugby at the moment is France. I fucking love watching France play rugby.
Yes, they're very good. I actually really like watching Ireland play.
Did you enjoy that game? I really enjoyed that game. I thought they were two of the best teams going at it. It's incredibly competitive. I liked France. France tend to either have had like good forwards or good backs. Now they seem to have all good attack, all good defense. It wasn't necessarily everything. I feel like they've got a relatively complete game at the moment.
Yeah, they're very, 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 very good. No doubt comes nowhere near a World Cup cycle, which is just classic for France and every other team in the world. But they're a very good team to watch to get like a blueprint for certain things in your game. So like a blueprint for your forward running, a blueprint for your dump plays or whatever. They're a good team to watch. The Six Nations look, for me, it's always been a drier rugby, but as I've got older, I like it. I
was just going to make an outrageous statement that I was going to actually post on the weekend, and then I got distracted. But I actually think the Six Nations is the best rugby tournament in the world.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, as I've got older, it's become more what I like to watch. So I've drifted away from the Mitre 10 Cup where you sort of have 60 missed tackles a game to, I think Six Nations is probably like the purest form of rugby. So and that doesn't mean people like watching it necessarily, but I think there's not many missed tackles. Everything's played at the highest possible level. There's a lot of pressure on the games as well. I like the fact there's a lot of pressure on the games. So yes, I agree. I agree with you.
Can I ask, were you just sampling the banana vape that we were going to put out soon?
For the 14th consecutive week, I definitely wasn't vaping, and we don't have a banana vape coming out. But I have too many things. If No.
I meant to wink, but I did that instead. I don't know why.
So there's games coming up this weekend. We should probably give. I'm gonna check. We should probably give who you think's going to win.
Yep, let's go.
I'm just going to pull them up right now. UFC,
Tars
by the way.
Tars are playing Drew on Friday. I reckon Tars will win that game.
Yep.
Maybe we should start gambling again. I might put some money on. Are we allowed to gamble on rugby?
I don't have the game.
You've been gambling on.
No, you can't gamble. You can't gamble. I don't gamble on the shoot shield before you fucking say it. I do not do that. I don't do that. Have you got the schedule in front of you?
Hey, my phone's nowhere near me.
All right, sweet. Well, I'm gonna go onto something completely different then.
Sweet.
Very, very quickly. Did you watch the UFC?
I watched Derek's fight the next day, and I haven't watched Rob's yet. Derek versus Ty. Fuck, I love Ty Tuivasa, man.
Yeah, Ty's. I had money on Ty for the knockout. Yeah, he's gonna be a superstar.
That would have been paying good, wouldn't it?
Not as much as you think, because it was a coin flip of a game. But the Rob fight was close, man. The internet are blowing up.
Do you reckon? So I've watched a number of people say that they thought Rob won 3, 4, and 5, and Izzy definitely won 1, maybe 2. Like, what was your take on it?
Well, they say you always got to. I know this is the most cliche thing, but they literally, all the commentators say it. Dana says you got to take the belt from the champion. I don't know whether it was. I reckon a draw would have been fair. I think if you watch the rounds independently, I think he won 3, 4, and 5. I thought he lost 1 clearly, but I don't know how Izzy gets 3, 4, or 5.
So I actually know Rob's boxing coach. He's a shy guy. He's actually related to Sean Doyle. So he probably 6 months ago, because I do a lot of video editing stuff. He's rung me, and he wanted to go through. I'm sure I can say this. What they wanted to do was break down every Israel fight. I didn't do it. They ended up doing it. Every Israel fight, and then have like the amount of times he threw like a jab or a low kick or a high kick or whatever. So they were actually going to break it down and go through that in like precise detail, what time in rounds he did it, what the other guy was doing, what his weaknesses are. I know they've been preparing for it for a long time. So I'm sure Rob was prepared. I'm going to have to watch the fight. Did you pay for the pay-per-view, or you got the illegal stream?
I sometimes, if the fight's not good enough, I'll get my friend will get a stream. I don't ever get it, but he just tells me what's happening through the phone. But this time I ordered it. Off that, it was close, but I don't know. Can you go a trilogy when it's 2-0? Not sure.
They did. Max Holloway's fighting Volkanovski.
Everyone on the planet. Well, he's not yet, but everyone on the planet wants that to happen, which is annoying. Jared Haynes out of jail.
I saw that. So,
I don't know if we were podcasting when this first happened, because I told all my friends this. I told them all this. So they all messaged me yesterday. That was never going to hold up. He's a conviction. Never.
Okay. So give me the details, because to me, he was in jail at the time, like recently.
Yeah, he's been in jail for 9 months. So
they've just released him.
Yep.
Okay. So I would be very shitty if I was him.
Yep.
So surely there'll be some suing going on. Is that?
Yeah. Potentially first they need, like, the state will appeal it, so it'll go on again to see if they'll appeal it again. It seems like, but it was always going to happen, man. Like, I don't know if he did it or not. I'm just looking at it from the sort of roughly the way the legal system works. It was a really, 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 really flimsy case, really flimsy. And you had all this media, and then you had a jury of his peers, which, it was going to be very hard for them to say not guilty. Then the judge gave some really dodgy advice in terms of like what could hold up, what couldn't. And he got convicted. But I told all all the boys about, I said, I don't know if he's done it. It's certainly not good, whatever's going on, or it hasn't panned out well, but he cannot be guilty. He can't be, just with the rules of evidence. So it's as soon as he's got to like a panel of judges, it's getting thrown out. And it's got there and it gets thrown out straight away. So
it's really trial by media. That's kind of what happened.
Well, I mean, the jury of peers is important. It's like a basic function of our society, but it is also, like, Lord knows, you get 12 fucking morons.
But it'd be very hard to be unbiased when all you're reading is Jared Hayne.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah. So, unfortunately, whatever happened, he was always going to have to go to the slammer for a little bit to then get out. If the state drops prosecution, he could sue someone. But until then, he's going to be basically out of jail waiting for a while.
What a fall from grace for that bloke. Like, he was, he was at the top of the game for a bit, wasn't he? Then when it had a crack at the NFL and like,
it's
similar to the Ben Barber situation. Like,
oh yeah, I mean, rugby league has
money.
Rugby league has a way of doing that to its best and brightest. But he was, the best player on the planet for a little while. The whole NFL thing was, you could view it as like a waste of time or pretty crazy, depending on how you wanted to view it. I think
do you think it's the guys? Like, do you think it's something within them that they're just struggling to deal with the success, or is it to do with people trying to tear them down and then they just struggle? Like,
I don't think I'm not going to paint him as like this independent angel who people are just attacking him. I think he's probably done some crazy shit, put himself in danger, and probably done some things that aren't great. But if you once you get into that realm, if you're doing silly things or you're doing half silly things, you're at risk. Yeah. You are at risk, and all young players everywhere need to be very careful of pretty much everything they do. Like, I'd be very surprised. I don't know why NFL teams don't have a full-time minder for people when they're drinking. I think they should.
I think some athletes do, to be fair.
I think some athletes might. I think some teams should have guys allocated to just go out, hang around, and make sure they don't do dumb stuff. Yeah. But he's free, man. So the media didn't, like, they picked it up, but there wasn't a massive thing. It was just like, oh, he's free.
So, Matt, let's go back to Tai Tuivasa.
Okay.
So I just want to, like, something I really like is when people are just unapologetically themselves. And did you listen to the post-fight press conference?
Yeah.
And they go, do you really want to be the guy that just, knocks people out and then drinks beer from his shoe? And he's like, yeah, I don't have any problem doing that. I'm still knocking out the best guys in the world. Yeah. And he's going to be, and you know what I love about him? As soon as he does anything, he's got a product. So he's doing his little Shuey Vasa thing, which is cool. He's got the beer. He's got the beer company. Yeah. Him, Tyson Pedro, I think it is.
Yeah.
Have a podcast.
You're very good with names. That's one thing I'm noticing.
I'm terrible with some details, but he's the way he's, and I think that's just him. And he's going to be very, very successful as a fighter once he finishes, even as a fighter, but once he finishes, he's going to have all these businesses. He's going to make a ton of money doing this because, like, he's a big dude from Western Sydney that drinks piss and likes beating shit out of people.
Yeah. I was worried about him for a while when he had that.
Yeah, a losing streak, eh?
Yeah, he had a 3-fight win streak, then a 3-fight losing skid, which is in the UFC, like, effectively, unless you're a heavyweight, that's the thing. If you're a heavyweight, you can sort different. You can hold on. But if you lose more than 3 fights in a row, you sort of get cut. So he had to win that next one. And then it's funny because, like, if you win then 3, you're effectively at a title shot. It's just the way the heavyweight division is. So he's definitely unapologetically himself. Americans eat it up. They love Australians in general, but they eat up his shit. It's just insane.
I wonder if he's done it on purpose, or if he's just just like, you know what, I'm just going to be myself. And like, look at all the good stuff that's happening to him. It will be hilarious if he becomes the heavyweight champion of the world.
Well, it's not impossible. Look, I put it this way: every time he fights, he's a coin flip for me of getting knocked out, depending on who he fights. But at that weight, he's effectively a coin flip. So I don't think he's going to last up there forever. But if you become, there's a chance you will become heavyweight champion. Old mate's gone, Francis is gone. Someone's got to be in it.
Has he gone? Has he?
Well, he doesn't have a deal.
Ooh, mate, surely
he's the first. He's the first fighter ever to win, to be the heavyweight, to fight for a heavyweight championship or to retain it without a deal to sustain him over.
They'll sort that out. They'll have to.
Well, it's a big thing. I was reading about it. Different management firms, but he wants the big money stuff. He wants to fight like fucking Tyson Fury for like 100 million.
Well, they all say that, but the UFC will sort it out, surely.
Yeah.
He'd be one of the most marketable fighters on planet Earth.
I mean, he would get the living fuck beaten out of him by Tyson Fury. He just would. I don't like. You can be as big UFC fan as you want, but it wouldn't even be.
If they were going to pay $100 million to fight Tyson Fury, I'd do it.
Yeah, I'd fight Tyson Fury for $100 million. I'd spend a lot of the time on the canvas and around his belt buckle.
100 grand. 100 grand. 50 grand.
$100. How low?
$100. If someone get his 20 grand to fight Tyson Fury,
how many rounds?
Just see how you go. What, like as if you're going to get out of the first
round. I would do it for 20 grand.
Yeah, you're fucking cheap, aren't you?
I'd do it for 20 grand. Also, like I'm just thinking, I could trade off that fight.
Man, imagine if you did well. Imagine if you knocked him out. Just imagine.
Just accidentally though. Like I'm falling down.
Punch up. You have to punch up.
I accidentally like headbutt him on the way through. He's out. I've got 5 belts.
Or you knock each other down at the same time, and you're the only one that gets up. You're the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world.
That would be good, man. But then
I'd be good for the podcast. Can we make that? It'd be good
for the podcast. Fuck, I get beaten up next time, man. Have you watched? This is a big thing for me, Chubby. So be very, very careful. Have you watched any Winter Olympics?
I watched a little bit of the bobsled, but not a huge amount.
It's fucking crazy. I'm going to come at this from 2 fronts. How do you think it's looking in China at the moment? How do you think
I saw a few photos. There's not a lot of snow around, is there?
No, but like, have you seen there's some of the athletes been complaining about conditions as well?
Oh, yeah. So I saw that. And then being asked to remove it by Chinese officials. Mate, tell you an interesting story that probably goes to show the extent of what goes on is, do you remember a while ago there was some democratic protests in Hong Kong?
Yes, sir, I do.
You do? One of my brother's friends is he's from Israel. He's a black belt in judo. And it was getting a bit full on. And he advertised to give free training to any of the locals that wanted training. The Chinese government found out and went after him. He heard through the grapevines that they were coming to get him, and he managed to just escape the country in time.
Man,
I know you're a big supporter of China, but
no. This is one thing we cannot joke about. The fact I think it's disgraceful.
That's true.
I don't doubt that for a second. I think the fact we're in China for an Olympics is fucking insane. We should not be in China. We like China are currently rounding up and exterminating portions of their population, and we are there for an Olympic Games. Like,
is that real?
Yeah, their Muslim population. It's like a fact. It's just not disputed by anyone. It's just they're rounding up or sterilizing them. So like, we're in that country for an Olympics. Like, we cannot. China are very, very, very bad. And like, look at the Australian Open, man. People were like, that tennis star who's gone missing, Peng Shuai.
Yeah.
The guy raised all that money, and the Australian Open said, no, you can't wear those shirts here. because we're sponsored by China. Like, did you see the Rock, John Cena, everyone, they have to apologize to China constantly if they offend them.
I'm with you. I'm sorry to bring I'm sorry to bring the tone of this conversation down a notch. What's your take on The Rock at the moment?
The Rock is going to run for president.
I look at people like that and go, when do you have enough, Dwayne?
Yeah, I'm sick. I mean, I like him, but I'm sick of him as well.
I like him, but he just does everything. Everything.
Well, I think, honestly, he's trying to build, he never does anything wrong, right? So he came out to support Rogan, and then he backtracked. He spreads around. He does all these things. It's all positive, all go all the time. I think he's going to, honestly, I think he will run as a Democratic president in the next decade, like as in a decade after this. I think. Well,
that just makes me dislike him.
Well, I mean, that's just me guessing that, but a lot of people guess that as well. I think he will run for president eventually.
My grandfather had a great saying, and I'm sure I've said it on the show many times, is that anyone that wants to be a politician should automatically be banned from it. I mean, the guy's going to be a billionaire. Just enjoy your life, Dwayne.
Yeah, look, he's very busy, and he never texts back. Never texts back. So
I've DM'd him a couple of times to try and get him on the podcast. Nothing.
Just to wrap up the Winter Olympics, the only problem I have with the Winter Olympics, right? They're all rich people sport. If you're looking at, and I had this problem with the Summer Olympics, if you're looking at, firstly, the Winter Olympics, it's applicable to what, like 30% of the globe? Maybe 40? What are we talking here? Like if you're Australian, if you're effectively got to either be born on the side of a mountain, which is very low chance, or be rich as hell to be a skier, any sort of that thing.
You're right. It'd be hard to be like a mogul skier coming from the favelas of North Ryde. You know?
Yeah. I mean, North Ryde. Yeah, the favelas are everywhere. I mean, that's why I like the raw summer Olympic sports like running, boxing, weightlifting,
fencing.
But no. Like things where like the poorest or the rich or the richest or the fattest or the whatever can just walk outside and train, and they're now in that sport. Now, if you need $100,000 before you can participate, I don't see it as a great Olympic sport. I don't really view the Winter Olympics as an Olympics in general, because so much of the world doesn't compete, but we've barely seen anything from it. I mean, you see the odd story, but it's really not been reported. I mean, I think America said they're not reporting it or something as well. So
China, yeah. There's been a few countries like that, haven't there?
Well, there's a reason, Chubby.
Yeah. This is why I talk to you, because I live in my own little world. So
I'm really bad, bro. You need to look that up. They're very, very bad.
Good at making cheap iPhones, though. So thanks for that, Apple.
Yeah, they actually don't have copyright laws. They don't have copyright laws in China. That's why.
Cheap Nikes,
Yeah, very cheap.
There's the positive dumplings. Dumplings are good.
Oh, this is one I want to talk to you about, because it's right on brand for us and a perfect for an edition where there's no censoring.
Yeah.
Did you see the swimmer from Texas who was ranked 462 in the world as a male, identifying as a female, now ranked number 1 in the world?
Josh. Mate, I have enough women that dislike me. I'd probably...
This got nothing to do with that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what do you say about that, Jeff? What do you say about that? Mate, I heard a crazy story about this company in Silicon Valley that hired some guy. And then he's like, well, where's the bathroom? And they're like, oh, the bathroom's over there. And he goes, I identify as a cat. So I need a litter box because that's where I go to the bathroom. So the company had to go and get a litter box.
Bullshit.
True story, apparently.
I don't believe that story.
Well, it's a little bit crazy for me to just make up on the spot, but
that is obscure. If that was straight from your brain, surely he's doing that for an attention grab.
Well, I mean, isn't it all an attention grab, Jed?
I don't know, but like it made me think, like, where could I get in the women's 15 game if I change now?
Mate, you'd be good at 10, 12 maybe.
I don't know, but
they're
like
trying
it's
pretty hard though, to be fair. So I don't know if you'd want to do that, but
no, I don't want to do that. I think they don't quote me though. I think they actually removed the. I can't remember if it was NCAA or the Olympics or something. They removed all the testosterone limits as well.
No.
Yeah.
So that'll just encourage cheating.
It'll encourage cheating. It'll also encourage bald men from West Ryde to start fucking competing in the Olympics, but for the other gender.
You know, I was having this thought the other day. Is that instead of like trying to dumb down society so that you don't offend everyone and so that they feel like they fit in, how can we like create human beings to go, hey, I don't really care what that guy says, so I'm not going to worry about it and let it upset me. Like,
I think it's a product of the time, and if you look at our parents a little bit, but definitely our grandparents and our great grandparents, you got wars,
Yeah.
you got shit going on. At the moment, nothing's going on, so words hurt everyone.
It's almost like some. I was reading somewhere the other day that there is actually a war going on, and it's with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, there's a lot. There's fucking heaps going on. But as soon as you like put it in context, like there's people complaining about the fact that certain words might make them feel bad and sad, and we shouldn't listen to certain podcasts. There's millions of people being fucking eliminated from certain countries. That's where the focus should be.
It's maybe we should try and get some attention and just try and cancel someone.
I want to cancel Waleed Ali from the project.
I can't stand him.
I want to cancel him.
How do these people get jobs, Jed?
I don't know, man. It's
a lot of that kind of media in Australia, it's just boring.
I haven't watched free-to-air television in so long, but occasionally when I'm in a roadside Motel 52 and I switch on Channel 10 and I see fucking Waleed Ali and I think, holy dooly, I don't want to. Well, I don't know what country I'm in at the moment, but I don't want to be here when he's here.
Yeah,
it's mind-boggling.
Maybe we should sell loose heads litter boxes.
Maybe we should sell loose heads cancel Waleed shirts because I know they'd sell like a.
That is not a bad idea, mate. We got to get this t-shirt business happening. Let's not talk about it now until we've actually got it happening. Can you explain the Manu Samoa situation?
Yeah, this was crazy. So, to anyone who didn't see it, we might repost it. Did you repost it?
No.
We might repost it. It was So Samoa have a long history. I'm sure that this isn't offensive, but they have a long history of corruption in terms of their governing bodies, rugby wise, and effectively their sevens team wrote an open letter to, I think it was the HSBC World Sevens tournament directors, basically saying, help us. We're being not held captive, but we're being abused by the management and coaches. So they said, in a nutshell, we did. None of us had COVID when we got to Dubai. I think they basically made us go into all these populated places, knowing we'd almost certainly get COVID. Once they got COVID, they had to train while they had COVID, and coaches knew they had COVID. When they were in their rooms isolating or some sort of isolating, they'd order food. The coaches would intercept the food and eat it. If anyone had an issue, the Brian Lima, who was a legend of Samoan rugby, apparently said he'd fight them, and that effectively that they're just being held. I want to say hostage, but I mean they're all young players, and they felt strong enough to need to write and speak out against a legend and their country in a way. So it must be very, very serious. But you certainly shouldn't be training when you have COVID and a number of these things. I mean, it forced them to pull out of the tournament. So It wasn't good. It was scary to read.
I mean, where there's smoke, there's fire, isn't it? So, well, generally speaking, but man, a lot of the Samoan guys sacrifice a lot to represent their country. I was actually a liaison officer at the Hong Kong Sevens in 2015, I think it was. And talking to some of their guys, a lot of them are actually from Samoa. They got jobs that they've had to give up to go and represent Samoa on the world stage. So it's a big honor for them to go and represent their families and their country. And for many of them, well, I'm not sure about the current squad and how it's changed, but for a lot of the guys, their plan is to get a professional contract. So they're giving up a lot to go and chase that dream. Training with COVID is very bad. I've seen some guys who had trained too early, and it was very close to going to hospital and needing a defibrillator type situation.
Something to help them breathe, or something to shock them with electricity?
No, like having heart attacks.
Really?
Yeah, because their skyrocket, their heart attack, very minor running would spike their heart rate to an obscene level, and then would take ages to get their heart rate back down.
Yeah, it's really, really bad. Look, Samoa have had a history of this. Like, if you look back, I think it was only the last World Cup where they were having major disagreements about where money was being allocated, where the match payments were going, where's all this. They got big problems, and the Sevens is one of their last vestiges where they can sort of compete regularly, and guys who are genuinely from Samoa can compete well for almost nothing, though. Like you said, almost nothing. So that was fucking awful to see. Awful.
Yeah, man. Brian Lima was one of my favorite players growing up, like the chiropractor. It's a fucking.
Well, maybe that's why he's brought over that aggression and whatnot into coaching, but.
I know you're a listener of the show, so if you want to come on and have a writer response, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah, man. Look, I saw a few of the Samoan guys, I'm sure, who you like reposted, who I know have been involved in Samoan Sevens as well. So it sort of validated it in a way. Maybe they'd experienced something a little bit similar, or at least the disorganization. But it wasn't good to hear, man. I didn't. It was bad.
Well, imagine if that happened here. There'd be hell to pay. So I hope that they sort that out and the boys get looked after. And girls, 5% battery. The boys and girls get looked after. Shocking.
Just quickly, how's training looking for? So about a month out from trials.
Yeah, man.
How's it looking?
Boys have been working hard. I at the start of the year, I was like, I need to have some excuse to exercise. So should I play third grade or fourth grade and just fucking throw my hand in the ring? And then watching the way they train, I'm like, there's no way in hell I'm doing that. A lot of running. I like the way we're training. The boys are coming together well. They're a good group. Can't say enough good things about the blokes. Yeah. So
well, you say plenty of negative things behind closed doors about the guys, individuals.
To be fair, I'd probably say it to their face. Like I was having a long chat to former Southern District's lower grader James Whalen.
Oh, here we go again. The regular segment of the fucking program.
Whale's whispers. No, he wants to come on the podcast. I was like, I'm sure Jed wants you to take him seriously, Whale. Like, I know no matter what I do now, Whale won't take me seriously. So, shout out to the great man. I heard he left the hellhole that was our mutual former workplace this week. So I hope he's killing it.
Yep. Shout out to Whale. I'll see him in training, and he has a lot of football to prepare for, so he won't be coming on to Lucett's podcast. But no, things are upping at Eastwood a little bit as well. I mean, neither of us are going to come on here and say it's going poorly. I'd say it's probably slightly better than I anticipated. The obviously contact picking up. I know our programs run differently, but contacts picking up a bit.
Yeah.
So there are people are getting used to that again. It's been a while since they've actually played football.
So do you build it up for your guys? Like, so you don't just throw them in the deep end day one. You got to build it up.
Yeah, it's been a process. The S&C sort of monitors it with Ben sort of decides the time periods and different things, veracity of the contact. So
what do they base that on?
I don't know. I'd have to ask Rob the S&C. Like he's a smart dude. I got no idea. I would base it on logic, but
You got to base it on what happens in the game, surely.
In terms of which bit?
Well, like with the scrums, like I have to work out roughly how many scrums we're going to have in a game, how many resets, time under tension, how many mauls you're going to have in a game. So when I'm doing the unit sessions, you have to take all that into account. Then you go worst case scenario. So we had 10 resets in one game. So I had to. Sometimes you might have to throw that in to see what the boys are made of. So it's got to reflect the game.
Yeah, I know. I don't disagree. I mean, I can sort of palm that. It's nice to be able to palm that off to other people for like in terms of general training. I suppose unit stuff comes to me, but he'll certainly be like, mate, we need more. Like we need more contact, like for this week, or we need or as in we didn't hit enough Tuesday, or the guys didn't hit enough reps.
Does he monitor? Do you monitor it? Like you got GPSs and all that kind of shit?
Nope, we don't have GPSs at Eastwood.
Do you video it and or just quietly as part of the participation agreement? Every club has to have a sports science thing, so you better start spending some of your money, Hawkeye. It's a requirement. You have to have it. So there you go. Just putting that out there for you. But
we have 5. Yeah, we got like 50, man. So everyone gets one.
I think it's for next year. You got to have it, but it is a requirement. But how do they monitor it? Do the guys watch and just go, "Hey, is it a field thing, or do they put any science behind it?"
I mean, there's wellness reporting, individual reporting after
they do
session.
Like a check-in thing, and guys.
Check-in thing. I mean, it is watched like quite closely, but it's very hard to tell if someone's hurting, and as long as they're quite transparent. So, if they generally, we don't do much and they return a 1 out of 10, well, that's good, but so, it's sort of a trust system there, I suppose, but it doesn't matter as much like that, even if they are sort of at 6 or 7 this week, like there's a degree where they do have to, you can't just stop because games don't stop.
And then you got to get through a certain amount of install and conditioning work because the season starts in like less than 50 days, so that's not a lot of time to get quite a lot of work in. And then like the unique thing about the Shoot Shield is you got guys who have been on the tools all day. You got guys that have been studying and will have the mental fatigue. So that all plays a part in how people feel. And then they've got to come to training, work their ass off for 2 hours, somehow prepare for the next day. And I got a lot of admiration for the guys, as I'm sure you do as well, even though you don't say that privately. No, but seriously, we did it for years. We both know how tough it is.
Like I said last week, I don't know how I did it.
No, me neither. I did it for 14 years.
Yeah, I know. You're fucking unbelievable.
No, it's just stupidity, really. Stupidity.
I think it's literally youthful ignorance to reality. Like it's just like I don't know how people do it, man.
No, mate, I'm with you. I look at it now, even with coaching, like I put way more time into coaching than I ever did playing. And then after a session, you probably have the same thing where you just think of things through it. And I'll rarely get to sleep before midnight after a session. And then a lot of guys have to get up and go to work at 5 a.m. the next day. So it's very impressive what guys are doing. And, I'm sure every club's the same. And I couldn't have enough admiration for the blokes.
Yeah.
Probably not the Waylos of this world, but.
Well, I have admiration for Waylo, and
no, I do too. I love Waylo. I just give him a hard time.
I know you do. No, look, I don't. I think it's incredible guys who work, and which is 85% of guys work, and then come straight from work to training, and are asked to be extremely switched on, extremely remember every detail, and have intensity as well about it. So. And not only that, and to then repeat that for 30 weeks. So,
it's remarkable, mate. I think the back end of this year, there's going to be a lot of people with mental, physical, and fatigue and injuries, and it'll be, whoever can hold on the longest is probably going to be the team that comes away with it.
Look, man, that's a huge consideration for us in terms. I know because is the length of this new season now. Me and you. We played in some really fucking long seasons. Early in my career, you played a couple already, but like back in the day, your season used to be like your full year. Like, were we playing 22 rounds? What were we playing back then?
It was you play everyone home and away,
Yeah.
plus there was trials plus finals. I remember the first year of the NRC, I ended up playing 44 games.
Yeah, so that was 2014.
Yeah.
I played the same.
Well, I went to.
You went to Hong Kong.
Yeah, I went to Hong Kong after. Well, so it was like 42 games or 44 games in a 52-week period. And I reckon that shortened the quality of the rest of my career. But
your lifespan. What?
That's probably the least of my worries.
I know Hong Kong shortened your lifespan. Yeah, no, those first few seasons seem now in hindsight like they just went forever. Like you'd lose a game or two, and then you'd be like, oh, "That's all right."
Hey, I got to go, bro. So can we wrap this up? And thanks to everyone for listening. I'll put this out today, and we'll talk soon, brother.
Wait, peace.
See you, buddy. Bye.